For so many of these jobs, you have to dedicate so much time in order to be able to work them. And some of you guys might be like, oh yeah, well that's actually the point. Because if you work a lot, if you spend a lot of time doing that education, then yeah, of course it should pay a lot. But if you think about the time that you have to spend in order to become a doctor, in order to become a lawyer, and the amount of stress that you have to go through, 10 years of education. So let's say if everything runs smoothly, let's say like by the time you get to like 18 or whatever, you start your education, everything goes completely smoothly. It will take 10 years then. So many people have obstacles in the middle of all of that, and they're not able to complete their education in time. So by the time they're done, they're like in the 30s. People are having their kids at that age, and you're doing it because your parents are telling you to do it. Because everybody else, because society is telling you, oh yeah, that is a respectable job. It's a safe job. Because the reality of most of these jobs are that, especially nowadays, like nowadays when you have other alternatives where you can literally work from home or whatever. Let's say if you were to get like a matrix job or whatever, the best job for that is one where you can work from home. These jobs like doctor, lawyer, engineer, or whatever, they all require you to go to some place. They all require you to go to a specific building or a specific like city, or in some cases, some cases you have to move your entire living situation to another city just to be able to work that job. And think about how bad that is for the rest of your living aspects. So many people are separated from their families, from their friends, from the things that they love doing simply because they have to go to this physical location. Think about your kids. You're gonna be away from them literally all the time. And some of you guys might be like, oh yeah, well you're a doctor, so like you only have to go to the hospital. It doesn't matter. You still physically have to be there. If you're not physically there, you're not gonna be making any money. That's the point. You're gonna be away from your kids, you're gonna be away from your family or your parents or whatever, depending on what age you are. And you're not gonna be getting any interaction outside of that. By the time you get home, you're gonna be so tired to the point where you don't even want to do anything anymore. You don't even want to interact with your family, with your friends, or do anything. You just become this one boring individual who had dreams and aspirations, but just chose to follow what everybody else told him to do. And this is the trap that you're being fed by your parents, by everybody else around you. And you're doing this simply because it brings you status within your own community. You might be in a new house or a new car, like, oh yeah, look, he's in such a nice car. Like some of you guys might even feel behind in life because you see your friends or whatever working these quote unquote normal jobs, and they seem so happy in their photos or whatever. They're smiling. They have a fire picture beside their, I don't know, their Benz or whatever, bro. Like these guys, they're actually miserable for the most part. If they're usually working these normal jobs, they're gonna be miserable people because you're depriving yourself of the time to be able to spend on other things. Let's say you get there at like 9 o'clock or whatever. You get back at like, realistically, you'll get back at like 6:30 or something like that. You're super tired. You don't want to do anything. Your life is miserable. And this is exactly what's happening in school right now. You might not realize it, but if you're my age and you're going to school or something like that, you need to realize that if you hate school, you're gonna hate your normal life even more. This jobs and all this stuff, you're gonna hate it even more. And you've probably heard from everybody else who's older than you as well. This life doesn't become better. If you think that this job or whatever will grant you freedom, it won't. It will just make you realize that you're still in this rat race. You're still stuck in this trap. I know somebody who's like a nurse or whatever, and she's talking about, oh yeah, I see like other nurses going on like this holiday or whatever. But at what cost? At what cost are you going on a vacation? You see these guys going on a trip. Oh yeah, look, I'm in the Bahamas. I don't even know, Thailand or whatever. But at what cost? You're going there for 2 weeks. 2 weeks in a year. Or a month in a year. And then after that, you're back to your normal life where you're just cleaning up people's vomit and all this stuff. This disgusting job. Where you actually have to be present in that location. You can't watch over your family. You don't have time to spend doing the things that you actually like doing. The rest of the 11 months that you're not in the Bahamas or whatever, you're back at this normal job. You're back at this normal life. What are you doing this for? You're doing it for respect, for status, for value, for validation, all this stuff. But what are you trading it for? You're trading it for your freedom, the things that you like doing, your goals, your aspirations. You're trading it for all of that just to make a little bit of money. Believe me, bro, you can make more money in 4 years online now. You have to look at the new world that has been presented to you that our parents didn't have. You can make more money online than you can as a doctor. And look at the conveniency of it. You have to go to medical school and all this stuff, 10 years, assuming that everything goes completely fine. And especially if you have like a sister, or I know my entire audience is literally male, so like I'm just telling you, if you have any sister or like I don't know, a niece, some cousin or something like that, and they're thinking about getting into these like good jobs or whatever, for women especially with like brown parents and all this stuff, they push this entire like thing, oh, you have to get a good job, you have to do this, you have to do that. But at what cost? Again, look, you have to look at the things that you're trading your life for. You're going to school for 8 years, 10 years, maybe even, let's say if it was 4 years, 5 years. How long are you going to be working that job? You're going to be working that job for a few years at the most. If you're a doctor, you're barely going to be working that job. You're sacrificing all that education, all that time they spent just stressing over your books and all that, just for some status. And then later on, what happens? You get married, you have kids, then you can't work that job anymore. And this is the trap that so many women fall into. Because they try to get these good jobs and all this stuff because their parents are telling you to. But it's actually better for them to just get married anyways, because you're going to be working that job for just a few years and then you're going to get married and have kids anyways. And then you're not going to be able to work that job. So then what happened to all that education that you sacrificed your 4 or 5 years for? It all goes down the drain because it doesn't matter anymore. You don't work that job anymore. And this is what you guys need to tell to anybody, to like your sister or anybody, your aunt or whatever. If you know somebody who's trying to go down this route, if you know a woman who's trying to go down this route, it's actually worse for them to go down this route as compared to a man, because a man's still gonna work that job regardless because he has to provide for the family and all this stuff. But the woman is eventually gonna have to take care of the kids. And this is exactly why I always preach this stuff, that you need to do something on the side. You need to become some sort of entrepreneur. You know, even if you have a job, even if you're in university or you're doing like high school, like I'm in high school, and this stuff becomes kind of hard to manage. Like, bro, even if you have all this stuff, bro, any free time that you have, dedicate to doing some kind of side hustle that you think is actually going to be able to sustain yourself and your future family. Because these jobs are the most flexible. The entire thing that I was just talking about in this video is about how normal jobs are not flexible at all. And they just lead you to become miserable. But these jobs, let's say if you become like an entrepreneur, like you have some kind of business or something like that. If you have some kind of business and you just work from your laptop, you can literally go to any part of the world, live in any part of the world, and just work on your laptop, and you would be making money. It's so flexible. You wouldn't have to be outside of the house for 10 hours a day. When you actually have kids, they actually have a father figure, rather than their father just being outside of the house all the time. And then when they come home, when the father comes home, he's just on TV. They would actually have a father to play with, you know, to learn lessons from. You need to think about this stuff in the long run. Which option is going to be suitable for you? And for the majority of you guys, the more flexible option is much better. I'm not saying that you should just drop your education or just stop working or whatever. Bro, just keep doing it, because it is a safety net. Education is a safety net. If everything else goes wrong, you can still have education to rely on. But I'm just saying, you need to prioritize this a lot more. In fact, if you actually spend time like consistently growing that business, like for example, like I know I've been a bit inconsistent with this, but let's say if I were to be consistent, which I think I will, with this YouTube channel, if I were to be consistent with it for 3 years or 2 years or even 1 year, bro, I could be making a lot of money. If I spend like multiple years working on this, if you spend multiple years working on your business, you can make 5 times, 10 times more than any doctor or a lawyer. My name is JBM. I'm going to wrap it up there. Stay disciplined, stay focused. Take care. Peace.